Is this thing on? Welcome back to Movies TV Mag. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mag. And welcome to Monday's edition of the dceu Daily. On today's show, I'm going to give you my Flash movie predictions. We will begin with talking about the stuff we actually know about the movie. Not rumours, but what we actually know about the movie from what we saw from on location pics and on set pics and things like that. And then I will go forward and talk about my predictions for the movie. But first of all, I have been very negative since I found out that the Flash movie was going to be delayed. And that's because I love DC and I love the DCEU and I want to celebrate it. And I was very excited that we were going to get 4 DC movies this year. So it's very frustrating to me that that's not happening. But if this means we get better movies at the end of the day, that makes me very, very happy. I'm very excited for the Flash movie. The things I'm hearing are very, very exciting. And I actually think that 2022 could still end up being a great year for DC live action. Peacemaker has been received really well. The Batman has been received really well. I feel that Black Adam will be a really, really awesome movie, especially with the JSA involved. And the things I'm hearing about Shazam! Fury of the Gods are really positive too. So I'm so fed up with negativity, with movie fandoms being weaponized constantly. It's very depressing. So let's celebrate on this channel, on this video, what we love, which is DC. So what do we know about the Flash movie? We know that Ben Affleck will reprise his role as Batman. Now, we actually saw a lot of on-location shooting of a Batmobile chase involving Batfleck using a stuntman. So we know he's going to be in the movie. We know, obviously, that Ezra Miller is playing Barry Allen, the Flash. We know that Kiersey Clemons is reprising a role from the Snyder Cut as Iris West, which is really exciting to see that relationship, that romance develop between Barry and Iris. So we've heard rumours about Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam's definitely in this movie. That was confirmed last week. So lots of exciting stuff. So we know some of the players in this movie, but surprisingly, considering we had quite a few leaks last week because of, test screenings, we know very little about this movie. So here are my predictions. If I was making the Flash movie, I would really want to solidify the emotional relationship between Barry and his mother. So probably at the beginning of the film, we will see some kind of moment, sweet, loving moment between Barry and his mother. I would assume then that we will see her murder. From a certain point of view, maybe Barry actually witnesses her murder, but doesn't see exactly who did it, but he doesn't know it's his father. We'll probably see his father being arrested, going to trial, and all of that. So then we go to the present day, where there's some kind of threat, and maybe Batfleck and Barry are dealing with this threat. It could involve like other members of the Justice League, like Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Shazam, because they will want to display the current kind of status of the Justice League. We don't know if Superman's actually in this film. We've heard a lot of rumours. No point working off of rumours because we know scoopers like to stir the pot, especially when it comes to the DCEU. And so we get this brilliant action-packed moment. It's really awesome. But then Barry and Bruce Wayne are talking. And Barry is so upset and so depressed because he's fed up of having to go to see his father in prison. And he misses his mother. And he wishes that his mother was still alive. And he says, all these things I can do, a bit like Superman in Superman the movie. All those things I could do and I couldn't even save him. And I think it's a kind of moment like that. So we've actually had this confirmed as well, that there is a conversation like this, that Bruce Wayne actually says to Barry Allen, listen, you've broken the speed of light before, Why can't you do it again? And Barry starts thinking about it. So this brings Barry to making the decision of breaking the speed of light again, like he did in the Snyder Cut. So he actually does it. Now, before he actually does it, maybe he says goodbye to Iris. Maybe he goes around saying some long goodbyes, whatever. So he actually attempts to break the speed of light again. Now, he tries it a few times. Now, remember, I'm just these are my predictions. He attempts it once and he fails. He attempts it again, he fails again. But then he finally manages to do it, to break his #1 rule, as he told us in the Snyder Cut. So he goes back in time to the moment his mum's going to get murdered, and he saves her. So all of a sudden, he thinks he's back home. So I've been hinting about Back to the Future 2 heavily. So it probably is kind of like Back to the Future 2 when the DeLorean, Marty and Doc get back to 1985. They think everything's normal, but then Marty goes, there was never bars on these windows before. And Barry starts to notice oddities like that after he's returned back to Earth 1. His mother is alive. His father's there. They're having breakfast, a bit like the Flashpoint in the Flash series, if you remember it. But as he goes out to the big wide world, he starts to notice a lot of differences. It's a darker world. There's a lot more crime. Things are going wrong. And this is when Barry starts to notice that things have changed. And he starts to realize that maybe him changing the past has changed the present as well. And this is very devastating for Barry. He feels very, very guilty because ultimately Flashpoint is a story of Barry Allen being selfish. Now, if anyone could do what Barry could do, you wouldn't blame them for doing it. But when you're the Flash and you can do what the Flash can do, there are inherent responsibilities to that. Now, I didn't like how in one of the crossovers in Arrowverse, when they found out what Barry Allen did, played by Grant Gustin, that they all were having a go at him. You can understand it from their point of view, but still, I thought it was a bit over the top. You know, all he ever wanted to do was bring back his dead mother. Barry Allen, whether it's the Flashpoint graphic novel, or even this film, or even the series when they did it, didn't think about the consequences before he did it. But he obviously kind of understands there are consequences to this, because in the Snyder Cut, he says this is his #1 rule, not to break. So he knows, because he's intelligent. He's scientifically educated. He knows stuff. He's smart. He's intelligent. He knows he shouldn't have done this. But he did it. And there's consequences now. And so he meets a version of Batman that's not his Batman. It's Michael Keaton's Batman, but this is not the Batman 89 that we remember. This is a man who isn't happy, who is angry, who is frustrated. And Barry discovers him maybe in a lair, in a Batcave. Maybe he just innocently goes to the Wayne mansion. He goes to Wayne Manor thinking he's going to find Batfleck, and he finds him. And as soon as Barry gets in there, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne, or Batman's, kind of, you know, really giving him, what are you doing here? Get out of here. You know, he's got a weapon or whatever. He hasn't spoken to anyone for a very, very long time. And so how does he discover Sasha Calle's Supergirl? Well, they basically discover her in some kind of darkened room. We've seen that from the little promo. We've seen, we can tell that she's not the Supergirl that we know. She's very disheveled. She's been hidden from the sunlight from a very long time. Someone's been keeping her depowered. So Barry meets her. He tries to help her. And then they start to kind of hang out and try and figure this thing out together. And then we have the other version of Barry Allen that we saw in the small little teaser trailer at DC Fandom 2021. So Barry is very surprised to find this variant version of himself. So this variant joins them. Who this variant is, we don't know. Could he end up being Reverse Flash? Because in the comics, he did disguise himself as Barry Allen. I do believe that Reverse Flash is in this movie, for sure. And so now there's this little team together. There's Batman 89. He comes to trust Barry Allen. There's Kara Zor-El, played by Sasha Calle. And there's this Barry Allen variant. And so there clearly needs to be a threat. Barry will meet different versions of his Justice League in this universe, but they will be very, very different. Now, Andy Muschietti told us from the very beginning this would not be a copy and paste of Jeff Johns' Flashpoint graphic novel. And so we know that. There's always been the question, will we have the Atlantean-Amazonian War kind of portrayed in this movie? Now, a lot of people have said no. Even the Hollywood Reporter at the time when they broke the story said this would not be happening. Probably someone at the studio told them this would not be happening. So we have to assume that that's not happening. But something else is happening, because we've heard about this for a very long time. There is actually a metahuman war. The metahumans are treated like a dangerous disease. So there's a war between ordinary people and metahumans. So this is what it is. There's a metahuman war, and now Barry is part of this, and he's part of this war. So Batman, I think at first doesn't like the metahumans, but I think Michael Keaton's Batman, because of Barry, grows to want to take their side and defend them. And so what we see this metahuman war play out. So that's the real villain of this story. Now, there's lots of rumors about who is going to be the main villain. Now, I've said for a very long time, I don't think there actually is a main villain. Now, Black Flash has been confirmed by lots of people that have seen the test screenings. A couple of people have direct messaged me confirming this. Now, I don't know a lot about Black Flash, and I kind of spoke about him the other day. Black Flash, I think, is someone that's created when you mess with time. Barry's messed with time. He's fucked up the multiverse, not just one Earth, but, you know, in the DC universe, when you mess around with time, you mess around with everything. And that's why Black Flash is there. And he's like the devil. You know, he's chasing Barry, and he's chasing Barry. If you remember was it in Legends of Tomorrow, when Black Flash is chasing that villain, the blonde guy, I forgot his name now, and he won't leave him alone. He's just constantly chasing him. Or is it was it Eobard he was after? I can't remember. So I think we have seen Black Flash, if I remember rightly, in Arrowverse, and I think that's the kind of character that he is. So I don't think the Flash movie actually has a main villain. I don't think the Flash movie actually needs a villain. I don't think Eobard Thawne is the main villain, but he may reveal himself in the end, and there may be some kind of battle. So we know there's going to be a lot of cameos in this film. Now, I spoke about the other day on the DCEU Daily and on my live last night about a rumour that I'm not sure if it's a trickle from April Fool's Day or if it's true, that we will see Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, Michael Keaton's Batman. Now, I don't know if this is another variant, not the one we see, and Christopher Reeve's Superman standing together as the Holy Trinity and maybe part of some Justice League. Apparently, this is one of the cameos we're going to get. But we're going to get a lot of cameos in this movie. But I want to be clear to you. As far as I'm concerned, this is not Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Cameos. This is a proper film. I believe that this is a film that has multiple amounts of cameos, but the story is Barry's story. It's the emotional story about a boy missing his mother and trying to get her back, pull her into the world through sheer force of will. Everyone misses their mum, right? My mum died 2 or 3 years ago. I miss her deeply, and I would do anything to bring her back. Of course I would. But if I did that, I would fuck up the whole world. And this is what Barry's done. So there is an emotional core here. It's not just with Barry and his mum. Barry loves his dad. It breaks his heart, as we saw in the Snyder Cut and in Justice League, that when he having to visit a man in prison who shouldn't be in prison. And his dad doesn't want him to waste his life on him. So it's hard for Barry because he's tried everything to prove his innocence, and he can't. He can't, because the thing that killed Barry's mum is a metahuman, and there's no proving that in a court of law. So Barry's done the next thing to bring his mum back, because if he brings his mum back, it's not just about him being reunited with his mum, it's about freeing his father. Now, I do think, another prediction I will make, by the end of this movie, I think that Henry Allen will be freed. We have seen some on-location pics again of Supergirl, like, kind of flying around the courthouse, outside the courthouse, and then Barry and Bruce Wayne and Henry all standing on the steps of a courthouse. So it looks like maybe in this new world, Michael Keaton's Batman, or Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne, has afforded a solicitor for Barry Allen to prove his innocence somehow. So as I say, I do believe that Reverse Flash is in this movie, and he will reveal himself in the third act. Now, will we see the Flash's Rogues Gallery? Now, a lot is spoken about Batman's Rogues Gallery and it being the best bunch of villains in comic books. But actually, the Flash's Rogues Gallery can actually give Batman's Rogues Gallery a run for their money. There's, what is it? I forgot his name now. The Freeze guy with the Freeze gun. I forgot his name anyway, but he's awesome. You've got Killer Frost. You've got lots of good characters in the Flash universe. There is a great Rogues Gallery in the Flash universe, and there's no question about this. And I believe most of them will cameo in this movie, a bit like they did for the Batman's Rogues Gallery in the Batman movie. And so I think they will definitely cameo. I expect to see Brandon Routh's Superman cameo in this movie. I expect to see Tom Welling. I don't know if we'll see Dean Cain's Superman, but you will see a lot of cameos from other other live action iterations of these DC characters. And I'm not talking about the DCEU. Now, there's been a big rumor once Barry goes into the Speed Force, he starts to see flashes of the DCEU as it is and was. So he will see a lot of characters. Harley, you know, as he's going through the Speed Force to go back to the past to save his mum's life. So you will see a lot of cameos that way. And so what you've got with this film is a celebration of the DCEU thus far. And when I say a celebration, I mean the Snyderverse, the Hamadaverse, everything. Everything we've seen thus far will be celebrated. We've already heard that the Snyderverse will be put into a pocket universe. It'll be very interesting how they do this and how they confirm this. And the most exciting thing we've heard, or one of the most exciting things we've heard, of course, is that Batfleck will not be in Earth 1 after Flashpoint, but he will manage to get a message to Barry about an upcoming crisis. Something is coming. He's warning him, like Barry warned him in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. That's actually a great reference from BVS to do it. So this film is not only going to be a great Flash movie, a celebration of the DC Extended Universe, but actually celebrating the entirety of DC live action and making it all canon. So this film is very ambitious, and we hope they've pulled it off in the execution, because I believe if they actually get this film right, this could change everything for the DC live action universe. I've been calling it the DC live action universe for a while because everything's going to be canon. It's beyond just the DCEU. So what about this concept in The Flash about making everything canon? I'd love to know what you think about that. Here's what I think. I think we need to celebrate everything instead of weaponizing each other and what each one of us loves. And I actually think creating this unification of everything DC live action is absolutely fantastic. That means anyone who's still alive today can cameo in these movies and be part of this brand new unification of DC live action. So I believe that Batman will be canonical in all of this without having to be involved with crossing over. So because Matt Reeves doesn't want that. But it'll be very, very interesting because there is a question that I get asked. Will Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne or Batman cameo in this movie? I'm not going to give you a straight out no for that because anything's possible. The truth of the matter is, Matt Reeves doesn't want to deal with these crossovers or have anything to do with the DCEU. But it doesn't hurt Matt Reeves if we see Robert Pattinson's Batman cameo in this movie. It doesn't hurt a thing as long as he's represented in the same way as he was represented in the Batman. So I think there's a 50-50 chance that we'll see him, not much, for a few seconds, but we could see Pattinson in the Flash movie. Because this is a multiversal story that unifies the entirety of DC live action. So ultimately, this movie will get to its third act, as all movies do, of course, and we will see the climax of the third act, where I think Reverse Flash, after he reveals himself, fights our Flash, and Barry wins, but the Flash, or should I say the Reverse Flash, vanishes to fight another day. We don't want the Reverse Flash to die. That would be dumb, as killing off Zod is. Now, I spoke yesterday in a video as this kind of situation where we know that Barry touches Man of Steel. It's not Man of Steel. This is actually Kara Zor-El's version of Man of Steel, which I was calling Girl of Steel. Some people misunderstood. There's not a movie being made called Girl of Steel, but who knows one day. Maybe they will make her version of Man of Steel. But I think in this film, we see her version of Man of Steel, where Kal-El is killed as a baby. And, you know, we find out why. You know, there's no Superman in her universe. But I want you to be very careful about these leaks. Because it could be that, because how does Kara become canon in Earth 1? Well, there's only one way this can happen, is if all the multiverse is converging on each other, and this is the beginning of a crisis. So Barry may have enacted something, but it's actually Crisis that's caused this problem as well. And so we get to the aftermath of the third act. And the DCEU now is very different. There's a new world. There's a new Justice League on Earth 1. But maybe somehow the multiverse, by converging, all these worlds converging, or these versions of Earth, alternate Earths converging with each other, that we've got different versions of these DCEU characters altogether. Or maybe they will be. But there is a new DCEU. It is a reboot of some sorts, but they are also setting up Crisis on Infinite Earths and Final Crisis. They could be doing the whole thing as Walter Hamada's Hamadaverse's first story arc. Now, if Discovery allow this to happen and untouch this movie, this could be very, very exciting. I am very interested to see what happens from April the 11th onwards when Warner Media becomes Warner Brothers Discovery. No point making any predictions. We're just going to have to wait and see. So this movie, in fact, is setting up a very exciting future. I do believe, despite all my frustrations and negativity for the past few weeks since The Flash was delayed, because I'm only human. I'm a big DC fan, and I wanted to see this movie this year because it's a brand new beginning, and it's exciting, and I wanted to see it. And the Flash movie really is a big mallet to hit the MCU with. I think it's exciting. I think it can be a great achievement. One thing we know, test audiences love this movie. That's a great thing. So we also know that Black Adam is having a few reshoots. Now, we don't know when this is happening, because I think The Rock's kind of busy with other stuff right now. But anyway, so because of the delays, this has given them an opportunity to kind of finesse the movie, but nothing to worry about. So the Flash movie is a huge, ambitious piece of work, and I personally can't wait to see it. But we've had the Batman, we've had Peacemaker, next up is The Rock's Black Adam. And what is that film going to be? Well, that film is going to tell a really, really amazing story about someone who breaks his chains of slavery and becomes more than he ever was. An anti-hero, not a villain. He was a villain, but he's going to evolve into an anti-hero. And somehow they're bringing the Justice Society of America into this story as well. Now, from the moment I heard this is fantastic. To be able to watch a film with Atom Smasher, but especially Dr. Fate and Hawkman, is very exciting. Because I was excited just to see The Rock's Black Adam, but this is awesome. So, even though I've been talking about The Flash being a huge event, so is Black Adam. This film, if it's been made well, and I think The Rock is a perfectionist, and I think this is not going to be like his other movies, I think Black Adam is The Rock's life's work. A huge DC fan, and he's already said there's some movies in the past that have betrayed the fans, and he doesn't want Black Adam to betray the fans. He wants Black Adam to be another celebration of DC. Now, I expect Black Adam to be set after Flashpoint. Definitely we know Shazam is set after Flashpoint. So, Shazam Fury of the Gods is set after Flashpoint. So is Black Adam, and so was Peacemaker. So we know that. So, also in the next week, James Gunn's going to tell us his next DCEU project on HBO Max. Apart from Peacemaker Season 2, that's been confirmed, that's happening. He can get to work on that once he's finished Guardians 3. We're going to have to wait a while, but there is going to be another exciting announcement. My prediction a few weeks ago, and I'm going to stick to this prediction, is that this is a Deathstroke series on HBO Max starring Joe Manganiello. Joe reprising his role as this character we saw at the end of Justice League and we saw in the Nightmare Future in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. So I think that's what it is. Now, if this is the case, as usual, the internet will be weaponized. There'll be people on Zack's side of the fence saying this is bad, and there's people on the other side, the all-round DC fans like myself, saying, wow, this is awesome. So if this is the case, this couldn't really happen without Zack's say-so. So, and I think if it's true that the Snyderverse is in a pocket universe after Flashpoint, I think Zack's going to be happy anyway. And as I say, without Zack rubber stamping this could never happen anyway. So think about that. And finally today, I want to talk about Matt Reeves and Zack Snyder. Again, some of you people online have weaponized these two people's opposing vision. Zack Snyder and Matt Reeves are very good friends. So why can't the Batman fans and the Snyderverse fans also be very good friends? I saw a disgusting post saying something about Reevesverse fans, Pattinson stands, and it was very disgusting, and I won't repeat it. We've got to stop weaponizing film fandom. We've got to unite. We've got to respect what each other loves, instead of this kind of trolling each other and thinking it's fun. Oh, I've just been in a chat with someone and we were arguing and I'm proud of myself and it's funny. It's not funny. Because, let me say this, are you even a movie fan, or are you just getting involved with a trend? Do you care about these movies, or do you just care about weaponizing these movies? That's my point there. So for me, movies were always about, uniting people. Now, as a kid, we loved films that united us. If we hated them, we shrugged our shoulders and moved on again. That's it. There was no big arguments. The internet has really changed the world in a lot of ways. The good way is I can sit here talking to you lot about what I love and my opinions, and that's great. Unfortunately, some people use platforms like YouTube to stir the pot to become very successful and very famous. It's very easy, isn't it? We could all do it. But I celebrate DC. I love DC. And I think DC live action can be very successful. I actually believe that the Flash movie is going to set something up really special. And giving Zack his own pocket universe is the best way to move forward. but we've got to really be intelligent about our movie discussions. Because if the Snyderverse is restored, I don't want to hear my fellow Snyderverse fans weaponizing what Hamada's doing or what anyone else is doing. If we get the Snyderverse restored, right, and everyone gets a pocket universe and it's all unified, right, everything in DC live action is unified, it's a beautiful moment that we should all be celebrating. This has been the DCEU Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection, and please tell the world about me. So until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. See you again soon.